Hey, what's up, Go Tribe Biodome? Day 2 in Canada, and back out in the woods, just soaking in some energy, just getting a chance to connect with myself. I only brought this phone because I knew I needed to record something, and I needed it in case I got inspired. And so I want to talk about two things in relation to energy. And I think that there's the essence of your energy, which I call the Nimoji. And there's the nurturing of your energy, which I call your inner G. INNERG. Every one of us have an essence. The way we sound, whether or not we can sing or not, whether or not we like hockey versus this sport. The things that we're naturally drawn to, and we don't even know why. Why did the first time I get on the skateboard and it was like magic? There's a part of your natural being and the way you exist that, in my mind, no matter what condition you grew up in, no matter where you were, it's going to be hard pressed for that attribute not to be prevalent in some way. For instance, I don't think it mattered where I grew up. The peopling part of me, I think, was always going to manifest itself in some way. And so when I talk about that energy, it's that Nimoji. It's that sovereign essence of everybody's energy. In my mind, I don't think everything tastes the same to everybody, which is why Waffle House eggs don't hit for everybody. Because if it tasted like it tasted for me, it would hit for everybody. But stuff doesn't work like that. In that inner G space, it's one of the places I think the world gives us the least amount of tools, which is how do we pour into our own growth? How do we sort of understand the sovereignty of that energy space of our being? And how do we learn how to give ourselves the tools to cultivate that space? So for me, as somebody who, I love people. I can talk to anybody about anything. That also shows up in my book. I read anything. I love to read. There's a curiosity in reading that energizes me. There's a experience of being with people that energizes me. In some ways, if I think about that energy, it's also like when you say, hey man, it's just a G in me. Well, what do you mean by the G in you? Because if the G in you ain't about growth, you've got to figure out how to grow from point A to point B. You got to be able to understand how you're growing, in what ways you're growing. Because until you understand your own energy, how is it that you're able to articulate it to somebody else? How are you able to set the right boundaries for yourself when you don't even understand it for yourself? And so in that energy space, you're growing and learning about how to cultivate your own energy. And so one of the things I like to talk about in energy is I'm responsible for filling my own cup, and everybody else gets to overflow. So as long as I'm pouring into me, there's nothing but goodness that's out here available for other folks in those contexts. So two types of energies in the Growfessor world. There's the energy, which is the Nimoji, the essence of you, and the inner G, which is the way you grow and cultivate yourself. And the sovereign energy by which you put into that, again, you're touching two sovereign spaces. I want to know what it is, but I want to know how to use it. I want to know how to leverage it. I want to know how to make it sustainable for itself. How do I learn to love myself for the sole purpose that I actually have on this earth, which is enjoying the experience of being me and tapping into these energy sources, or this energy source in both ways, exploring it and cultivating it allows you to be that authentic version of yourself. Look, this is the Growfessor. If you ain't following me, you still don't got to after this video. But you can find me, though, if you just so happen to choose to holler at me on YouTube. You can holler at me on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, Substack. If you're looking to grow, lots of opportunities out there. I don't care where you find where you grow. But just make sure in whatever way you grow that it's thought through the lens of who you are, your essence, and giving you the tools to tap into your own essence. So this is the Growfessor. I don't know if this is a like, subscribe, follow, share, retweet, repost. I don't know. But I'm glad if you got to this part, look, I'm just glad you're here. I'm a holla.